Welcome to my channel on the build and design of the MBR Sports Car. In this episode we're carrying on with the handbrake, and just like we did the previous week, we're going to crack onto it and go straight into the workshop now. It's very important when you're making things, designing things, to always keep checking and don't take anything for granted, because there's always something that's trying to catch you out. Here's not a prime example, but here's something again that you've seen me with the wheel off, and you know I've really had to put the wheel on just to check things out. Now if you look here, that's where I've clamped the new cable for the handbrake to go on, and if I did that in a straight line, that would go straight into the wheel, so I can't do that. It's going to have a slight bend in it from that point to here. And as you can see, I haven't got a huge amount of room in there. I've got room, but not a huge amount of room. So yeah, just a note on things to check. Now, I have been double checking the calipers I've just done, and again, I've just found something that I can improve on. So yeah, I'll show you that clip next. So how am I going to improve the caliper? What I have noticed is that I put these plates on either side to stop the two blocks that come out here clamping together, and it works. But what it does do, when I do either this bolt here or this bolt here up, it clamps it down, and although these still work quite nicely, what it's doing is putting quite a lot of load onto this plate. So what I'm going to do is a quick mod in here to this pillar, and actually put a little insert in that's just a couple of thou taller than the actual lever itself. So when these clamps down, they clamp down on the pin and not the lever, and hopefully that'll take the stress off of both plates on both sides. So you'll see me doing that now. Okay, so that was a quick little strip down. This is now what I want to do. If you can see there, I put a little black mark there. It's not very accurate, but I put a black mark out. I'm going to drill stroke ream this hole out, and then I'm going to put a pin through, so this pin just sticks through, as I said, only by a few thou. Right, so quick bit. You see me use bits of steel, metal, aluminium, whatever. It's not just a case of me going and picking up any bit of metal. You've got to get your metallurgy right. This is a piece of EN16, and that might not mean much to many of you, but they grade steels. And this is the old-fashioned way of grading it. Of course, in the modern times, they've changed it all to make things a lot more complicated. But as of old, there's a system called EN, and to summarize it very quickly, EN1 is one of the softest steels there is, and going right up to sort of EN40, so on and so forth, up the range. So you've got to know what steel you want for what job. I've chosen EN16 for this. Now, what EN actually means is a bit of a history lesson here. Through the war, the Americans were making parts. This is the Second World War. The Americans were making parts, the British were making parts, and they wanted to standardize the metal so they knew what was what. So they came up with a very quick system, and it was called the emergency number system, EN. So that's where it came from, and it's still around today. Right, so now cracking on, I'm going to drill this, and then I'll show you what I mean by reamer. Some of you won't know what I mean by reamer. Drill and ream that hole first. I'm going to do that one first because it's a lot easier to have a drilled hole, and then I can get this pin to be absolutely accurate to go in this hole. Right, I'm here on the mill to drill out, initially drill out the hole. I've set it up in the vise so I can go down with the drill like that. Now I'm going to go to a 13mm hole, but I'm going to use a reamer to do it. Now for those of you that don't know about reamers, you can't drill with a reamer, but what you can do is get a very accurate finish. This is what you call a hand reamer. There's two different types of reamers. One's a hand and one's a machine reamer. Now, I'm very lucky that the way I can use this, but normally in a milling machine, you put what they call a machine reamer in. It's got a taper on it with a tang goes in like that, and then that goes up in there instead of where the chuck is. But unfortunately, I haven't got a 13mm machine reamer, so I'm going to have to use this one. But luckily, my chuck's big enough to get on that, so I can ream the hole. Now the other thing you'll notice when I start the mill up in a second is that it goes quite slowly, and a rule of thumb is the smaller the drill, the faster you go, the bigger the drill, the slower you go. And especially with reamers, you don't go very fast. So I'll drill it at one speed, and then I'll go through with the reamer at a slightly slower speed. But a reamer does give a very accurate hole. So I've used this 6mm drill just to pilot and know that I'm in exactly the right place, so that when the drill goes down, it's absolutely spot on. So here we go. So I'm going to start the mill up. Okay, and as you can see now we have a nicely drilled hole. I'm going to take that out and put the reamer in. Now I've got to slow the machine up even more for the reamer. Put that right up in there, you see it only just grips. Now I'm going to start it up, I'm going to wind the handles up here to slow the speed down. You'll see that happening now. I'll stop it there. If you come inside and have a look at inside, you can see how little that's cutting off, but it is actually cutting it off extremely accurately. So I'll start the machine up in a minute and just finish that last little bit off. Okay, and there we are, one reamed out hole. So next up I've got to make the pin, this pin to go through there. What I forgot to say, when I'm talking about hand reamers, this is the sort of thing you'd use a hand reamer for. You'd use a tap wrench like that, your hand reamer goes in. It's very useful for cleaning out holes as well, not just always machining. Okay, so on to my next bit. So I'm on the lathe now. I've started machining the bush to go inside, and this is why it's a lot easier to drill the hole. I'll ream the hole in this part first, make your hole first, and then get the shaft to fit, because as you can see I've been machining away. I've stopped for a bit just to let it cool down, because if you try it when it's hot, you'll get the wrong fit, because obviously, as you all know, I said obviously again, sorry, but metal expands, and so I've just let it cool for a bit, and as you can see I've got quite a nice fit on this. It's just sticking. So I think when it's cooled down a little bit more, that'll be a perfect fit. So all I've got left to do now is to I've got to put the hole in, 6mm hole, part it off and put a chamfer on each end. So that's a nice little finished off bush now in there. I'll just put it in the vise to show you guys. Geez, we need to do the vise up. You can hardly see that, but with that vise done up, as you can see, this isn't clamped, so I've now taken the load off the bolt going through, so it should be a lot nicer. Now I've finished my first one, I've got to go on and do my second one on this one, and then after that I've still got the other caliper to do, but I'll crack on and get this one finished first. I won't show you the machining again, because you've seen that once. Again, the next operation on this little lot is I've got to do some more blacking. Obviously these pins will need to be blacked, and I haven't actually blacked all the bobbins that go in there. So I'll do all this, then put it together as a full sub-assembly. The only thing that I might still have to modify on this is this lever here where the compression spring is going to go on it. Not quite sure what I'm going to do there yet, either machine or weld, one or the other. So probably unfortunately have to come to bits again, but that's what it is. But I need to have it together because hopefully next week I'm going to have the cable come, and I can start making the brackets for the cable as well. So the caliper nicely put back together again, everything's blackened, I've put the link bar in, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's ready to go back on the car. Couple of things, I'm always looking to how can I improve things, how can I make things better, apart from the obviously making it lighter. One thing that's become quite annoying is just for purposes of building, I used a standard stud here and it's got a right hand thread on both ends, which is no problem. It's just if I want to adjust it, it's just a bit of a pain at the moment because I've got to undo the bolts, wind the thread one way or the other, and then put it all back together again. So a smart move would be to actually change the stud so I have a left hand thread on one side, a right hand thread on the other. I'll have to redo one end, so this is a left hand thread, so as you move this bar in and out it can go closer and further away from the brake disc with the brake pad. So yeah, another little update. And the other thing that's again slightly annoying is the fact that these bolts here I can't get on them easily. So what I might just do is make it so I can access these bolts, but I think if I go left hand and right hand thread on this, I probably won't have to access them too much. So yeah, still in the thinking process. So I'll put this on the car now, get the other one off, get the levers modified, and then we can go on from there. Right, I've just had one of those oh bum moments where you know you've got to do something, you've totally forgotten about it, and you've put something together and gone, oh, I meant to do that. Now if you look down here, you can see that the pad is touching, and the pad this side, there's a gap. I'll put these feeler gauges down, it's about 2mm gap. I did this, I set it up so I could adjust it easily and then forgot to adjust it, because all I've got to do is machine some off of this top block and the bottom block to move the pad over. I did it this way around because it's a lot easier way of adjusting it, and then clean forgot to do it. So it's not going to take me very long to whip this side off, take off 2mm off this one, 2mm off the other one, and then the pads will be touching equally. Okay, after a bit of machining, as you can see, that's now touching, and so is that side, so quite happy with that. These actually ended up bang on 3 inches, and I think, I can't exactly remember, but I was pretty sure that my initial calculations was to make them 3 inches, and they actually made them sort of 3 inches and about 80 thou, so that's what I ended up taking off. So yeah, jobs are good. Right guys, a bit of a different view for you now. I'm actually, as you probably guess, under the car, and see these things here, and that's where I was going to operate the handbrake from, but I think we're on to plan B, which means I'm going to undo these rod ends here, drop them out, drop the bar out, and get the cable through. Now as you can see, probably easier here. I'd actually allowed for the handbrake cable to almost go through the water pipes. That was a bit of a compromise design. I think now it's going to be better because I haven't got something sliding. The cable will just go over the top. So hopefully, my only hope now is that the cable will actually go through that gap. I'm pretty sure it will, but it's a fingers crossed time. Whilst I'm underneath, get a very rare view from the underside of the engine. Over here, one of my previous videos, I was explaining about where the oil goes into the engine. So they're getting the sunlight. So that's where the oil goes in, and this is where the normal oil pump is. And you see I've done away with all that. And under here will give you an idea of all the, move back a bit, it's almost on my nose now because I'm so low, but yeah, that's the underside of the oil system. And as we move over here, that's the lift pump for the fuel. Whilst I'm under here, it's not very often I go under the car, but just to show you, I've gone to great lengths, probably hopefully do this in another video, to keep the floor flat. And as you can see, I've used a special wood here, and can't remember what it's called at the moment, but I'm sure it will come to me at some point, and I'll leave a note on this video what it was called. And yeah, as you can see, it's really, really flat under here, and nothing sticking out. I made sure I've used countersunk bolts everywhere, so just a bit of an unusual view. Right, and as you can see, my handbrake kit's arrived. Really good. The first bit of good news is that it actually fits through the hole in the tub. It's tight, as you can see, it's not falling through, but that's happy with that. Another good, well, good and bad is the cable. The cable, I thought I was going to get two cables. Unfortunately, it only comes with one very long cable, and I can understand why they've done it, but it doesn't actually help me. You've either got a solderless nipple on one end like so, or a threaded bit like that. Now, this is perfect for me because that it's not quite the right thread. I need to open this up, but I can drill and tap this correct thread, so it will give me some adjustment on the handbrake, which is brilliant. So that's really, really good. And it also comes with a whole load of parts. So what I'll do is I'll shoot over. Oh, and as I shoot over, you can probably see hopefully under here where the cable just down there is running. So it comes across and it's going to run into here like that. And I've got so much of the outer left, loads of it, which is really good. So I've got enough outer. And it also comes with a whole load of kit of parts, which is great. And especially this piece here. It's quite a nice little clip. It's all plated. It's all pretty handy. And in there, I will put a solderless nipple like that to clamp the wire as it comes through. And this will fit. Whoops, excuse the filming. With some mod onto this lever like so. So as the cable comes out, I can modify the end of this, and that's going to be absolutely perfect. So this kit will work really well. Really pleased with it. All I'm going to have to do is order another inner. Right, on to making the bracket for the cable. I like to recycle parts, so I thought I'd go upstairs and have a look in my bracket box that I always keep loads of, and I found two of these, and I think they're going to work a treat, because when you look at this, the cable here is going to come into. Whoops, I'll put my other bracket down a second, 2.6. I can film it a bit better then. So this is going to come over and be cut to go into here, and then this is going to actuate onto there. So it's almost perfect. I've got to get the length from there to there right. I'm going to put a thread into the boss that I put on here, so I can wind this backwards and forwards. And I probably don't want any more, or any less, should I say, than a 35 to 40 mil gap here. Probably got slightly more than that, because I want to try and make this bracket as short as possible to stop the flexing. So, but on the other hand, if I come in too far, the angle's going to go out. So it's a bit of compromise design, but yeah, I'm going to crack on and make a boss here for that now, and also drill and tap into here so I can actually clamp the bracket as well. Okay, so I'm at the next stage of planning. So this is where the bracket's going to go. You can see where I've marked it, but I'll run into my next issue. So I'm going to bolt it down through there, and which is great, no problem. But when you lift this cover off, you'll see there's clearance for the actual screw holes, like so. So the screw will go through, but when I put the nuts on, the nuts are going to hit on there and there. So yeah, again, I'm going to have to take it all to bits. I'm going to have to scallop a little bit out there and there, so I can get, when I do it all up, I can, the nut and bolts won't foul on the block. So that's my next job, to take them, well, to drill this plate. I'll do that first, and then I can be a bit more accurate on my lines of where I've got to scallop it out on both the bits. So that's my next two jobs. Whilst I've got it in bits, I thought I'd make the attachment for this clevis. I've had a look at the metal stock that I've got, and I've got a piece of bar. I've drawn a rough shape out there, and I'm going to cut that out to suit and then weld it across here. But before I do that, the thickness of this, if I can do it, hold like so, and the thickness of this, it's just a tad thicker. So what I've got to do is machine some off either side. Now, rather than using the milling machine, what I'm going to use this time is I'll whiz around, and I'm going to use my surface grinder, because that will get it very flat and quite accurate. So I want it to be a nice fit in here. So yeah, that's my next step. Right, I'm here on the surface grinder. The surface grinder only does steel, or easily does steel, should I say. I've already ground the underside, because the only way that the steel is actually held on here is by a magnet. I move that lever over, and that puts the magnet on. So I put a couple of stoppers on there, because if I'm too aggressive with it, what will happen is these pieces will start flying off, because it's only held on with a magnet. You take very small cuts. I've now got to take 70 thou off of these to get it the right size, so that'll take me a little while. So I'll start off, and you can see how how it all operates. Okay, I've now finished grinding them. One thing I forgot to say was I've actually done two. I've done the one for the other side as well, because whilst I've got it up here and grinding, doing one at a time, it just makes sense. I've had my clever head on, so I cut another one and I've ground it. The other thing that I did do was to show you how the magnet comes off, and you can see all the metal that's come off these are stuck onto the magnet. So I'll pull these two off. The other thing that I did do, which I didn't say, is that I have also gave it a quick flick on the mill on that face on both of them. So when I come to weld them on this side here, I know I've got a really nice straight flat edge. Okay, so I'm about to start welding. I V'd out the component just in here, so I'm going to weld it along here. In fact, I was going to tack it that side, flip it over, and then weld the other side next, and then come back and do this side, because otherwise what will happen, it'll pull and distort. So just a couple of tacks this side, flip it over, do the long weld the other side, then flip it back over and just finish the bits of welding off. So let's go. It's only got one tack on. I'll come in afraid to put the other tack on. Easy to see that way. There we go. I need a bit more power on that. It's almost gone. There we go. As you can see, a couple of tacks on there. Now I'll run weld down here. And that should pull the weld back the other way. Right, I'm happy with that weld. Flip it over and weld down here. Still a bit warm, but I'm really happy with the weld on that side and the weld on that side. It's all good. The only downside is from the weld, a nice looking weld, is now I've got to grind this off, because where this bit comes in, the weld's just hitting, so I'll grind that flush. I'm also, where that black line is, going to take a little bit off just to tidy the whole thing up, because I've got a bit too much metal around there. Okay, just giving it a little grind, and as you can see, that's going to be about right. Quite happy with that. So yeah, just got to pop a hole in here now. Once I've done that, back to the blacking. I'll give this another black, and then it's ready to go back on. There's always things trying to catch you out. I just thought I'd better check the pin going through and the circlip, because it's quite a tight fit on the circlip, and went to do it, it wouldn't fit on. I didn't have to take much off, probably about 5 thou, because the welding had distorted it. So as you can see, now it fits on. It's quite a nice fit. So yeah, back to blacking again. I've had some successes. I've obviously done the blacking. I've also made this bracket just here, quickly milled that up. I've cut this down as well, and as you can see, I've just mocked it up with, again, bits of blue tack stroke plasticine to see roughly where the spring would go. And here, if I look from this angle, you can see the brackets here going slightly in the wrong direction, so to exaggerate it, it all might fall off, but I'm going to have to put the bracket on a slight angle, so it means putting it up on the mill so it goes more in that direction, so probably about a 3 or 4 degree angle on the bottom of it, just to get that in a nice position. So yep, I'll do those little few jobs and carry on and show you the next bit. Right, a very dangerous thing just been happening. I've been thinking, overnight I've been had my thinking hat cap on. A couple of things. First thing is where the cable's going to go through and the spring's going to fit on there. I want some form of locating because the spring's just going to flop around otherwise, and I need to make a lock nut for this. Now, this kit came with various lock nuts, and I was just going to use one of those on there, but I've come up with a cunning plan of make a lock nut and a guide. So I've got a piece of hexagonal bar, which is I can use for doing that up, and then if I turn a diameter on this, that can support the bar for, I was going to do a good inch support for it, so the spring should be sort of fairly well held and make it quite a nice tight fit. So that's 2 more components I've got to make, one for each side. And then I've been further thinking about the cable. Now, the cable here comes with 2 really nice ends. As I spoke to you, I was going to use this end to go into where the handbrake is, like so. And the other end, I was going to put one of these solderless nipples on it. This one's got a fixed soldered on one, which is really very nice, but my only option if I put it in the caliper was to use one of these. Now, it's only going to be held on with this one screw, and if you give it a good pull on the handbrake, I was very concerned that the cable would slip through this. So I've come up with another idea. What I'm going to do is, instead of using the one where it could slip through, I'm going to put on the welded soldered end into there, so that'll go in through that like so. And then this end, I've made in the past for throttles, I basically made this, to summarise it, but with a couple of grub screws that come down, so it's just not held with one screw, it's held with 2, or I might even do 3, 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, or 2 on one side, 1 on the other, so it's really well held. So I think that's what I'm going to, well, I know that's what I'm going to go for now. So yeah, I won't be using this one that comes on here, never mind, I'll try and improve things. So that's another 2 components to make, so that's another 4 components I've got to make. So yep, I'll be cracking on with that next. So here's my nut stroke spring carrier. Whilst I've been making one, I made 2, so you can see the spring fits on there and that clamps up that. I've gone in about 20 mils worth of thread, so I've got, plenty of adjustment on this if I want to move it in and out. So yep, happy with that. Now on to the next part. With the welding bench, I've decided that I'm going to weld this bracket on. I made one for the other side before I welded this one on, so I could copy it exactly, made life a lot easier. So this time I'm welding aluminium rather than steel, and you have to have different settings on the actual welding machine itself, which I've done. And the other thing that you have in there is, or actually in the welding torch itself, what they call tungstens, and there's one for steel and one for aluminium. So I've got to change this tungsten over. So no, it's not going to come out that way, come out this way. So the you probably can't see it on the end of this one, but that's a steel one, and they're normally marked on the end with red, and aluminium ones are marked with white. So put this tungsten in and my collet, and it's quite particular how much this sticks out. You sort of get used to knowing where your tungsten should stick out, depending on what you're welding. I'm probably not the best welder in the world, but I'm good enough to do what I need to do. So right, so what I'm going to do here, again, I've got to be careful with distortion, so I'm going to tack it, the bracket just here, and then turn it over and tack it there. And once I've got tacks on it, I can take the clamps off, run a weld down that side, run a weld down that side. Another reason I've decided to weld it is so the spring locates nicely. What I've done is I've done it so that it just overhangs just a little bit. So I'll put a nice big weld in there and I'll linish it all together so that all looks quite nice when it's finished. So right, here goes for the welding. Now, I haven't got a huge amount of gas left, so I hope I don't run out of gas. But if it does, I have got another bottle, so it's not the end of the world. Right, turn everything on. You need quite a bit of power for doing this, a lot more than you do for steel. Right, so machine is now on. Crank up the amps. Here I've got gas coming out, and let's see how we go. You'll notice I can't weld straight away. You have to heat the aluminium up. You're very careful not to touch your electrode on the aluminium. Just like I did there. I think that's got a tack on it. Yep, as you can see I've got a tack that side. Unfortunately I did get a big splat of alley, so I might have to get, hopefully that stands up alright. Nope, it's not playing ball. Actually, let's put it in the vice, it'll be easier. Okay, finished the alley welding now. It's all come out quite nicely. Put a big beefy weld on it, so that's ready to, when it cools down, to go on the car. So the welding's come out really quite nice. Now you can see how that's going to move. One thing I just noticed is this does slide off there, so I'm just going to make similar to there without the nut on it, just a piece to come off there. Just tap that on with a bit of weld so the spring's held on this end. But as you can see, this is pushed fully back, and that's the movement that I've got. So yeah, really happy with that. And just first of all, I've obviously got to make the bit for there, then I've got to make the clearance of the bolts in there, then I think finally that side caliper's done, and then I've just got to do the other side. But as I've been going, as you notice, I've made all the bits for it, so that side should be a lot quicker to do. Right, so I've now bolted the bracket on, made the nuts on the back fairly flush, and as you can see here, this is the bits I had to machine out so the nuts would miss. And when I put that on, it fits on. The nuts aren't hitting. So wonderful. I'm going to bolt that all up and get it back together. Still a bit more blacking to do. I've got to black that end, but yeah, apart from that, I think we've actually finished the caliper. So it's together, as you can see. I'm going to crack on and do the other side now, and in the next video I'm going to be starting on in the cockpit, doing where the actual handbrake itself is and making the adjusters for that. Hi, right, we're almost there with the handbrake. Why do these projects always take longer than you think? I mean, I didn't realise that it was going to take so long, but I've been enjoying doing it. It's quite good to get the old grey matter working. And as I've said many times during the last two videos, it's the first stages. I'm already going, oh, I can do this, I can do that. So, but I want to take one stage at a time. So the first stage is to actually just finish it, make sure it works. Once I've got, then there's a whole load of other things on the car that always I can improve on as well. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please the old normal like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.